Generally, we run to the latest book in order to grow as players, because we think the latest book will give us the answer to everything. However, this book from 2018 is a great book because it has about 90 positions divided in two phases of a game, middle game and end game, and they are mainly strategic exercises. So often I was told it's difficult, the strategy, because you don't know what to do, and that's right. I mean, it's possible. So in the previous video that also show an exercise from that strategic book, I use the Silman thinking technique as explained in edition number 3, the 4th edition. But Silman also wrote the 4th edition that maybe you will like more, because it's obviously made after many years of thinking and sharing his ideas with other chess players. In any case, this is exercise number 2. The author asks you what plan allows black to get a slight but lasting advantage. In edition number 4 of How to Reassess Your Chess, Silman tries to synthesize his system even further. He says, if you want to be successful, you have to base your moves and plans on the specific imbalance-oriented criteria that exist in the given position, not on your mood, tastes, and or fears. And he says also another thing that I believe is very important, and maybe explain to you why I think strategy is kind of more important than the tactics exercise, because the tactic exercise, in a sense, generally they are simple. They require you to find a force sequence of moves. Here they are not force the moves, so you really need to think, and that's why you play chess, right? And here he says, at some time or other, every tournament player learns a few opening lines, some tactical ideas, the most basic mating patterns, and a few elementary endgames. As he gets better and more experience, he significantly adds to his knowledge. However, the one thing that just about everybody has problem with is planning. From class E, under 1200, to master, I get blank stares when asking what plan they had in mind in a particular position. Okay, so as you can see, it's difficult, right, this idea of a plan. So what is an imbalance-oriented criteria? He says an imbalance is any significant difference in the two respective positions. Any significant difference in the two respective positions. And here he gives a list in edition number 4. The following list of imbalances will be discussed at length all through this book. And the list of imbalances is superior minor piece, pawn structure, space, material, control of a key file, control of a whole weak square, lead in development, initiative, king safety, and statics versus dynamic. Okay, so this is a possibility if you have a lot of money and you want to buy the latest edition. If you don't have a lot of money and you still want to read a good book, I think this costs like $5-7 because it's an old edition, right? So it's worth to buy it, just to have it in your book library because, as you have seen before, the imbalance and the Silman thinking technique, it's quite detailed in this book. With that said, I hope you pause the video and try to find what plan allows black to get a slight but lasting advantage. And the solution is at page 26. Now, the game was Julio Bolbocan against Carlos Guimard, Mar del Plata, 1941. So let's see how the game started and how did it reach this position. Okay, so Julio Bolbocan started with e4. Guimard played e6, that is the French defense. d4, d5, knight d2, c5, knight g f3. So this is the Tarrasch variation of the French defense. Knight c6, bishop b5, a6, bishop takes e6, b takes e6, castle, knight f6, queen e2, c takes d4, e5, knight d7, knight takes d4, c5, knight 4, f3, bishop e7, c4, bishop b7, c takes d5, bishop takes d5, knight c4, castle, bishop d2, queen c7, and here we have b3, which brings us to the position in which the author asked to make a plan. He said, what plan allows black to get a slight but lasting advantage? Here he says, black has the bishop pair and the light squared one. So bishop pair and light square, which has no counterpart. So this is an imbalance, okay? Black has no counterpart on the light squares, so that is telling you something. This makes it especially powerful, right? His queenside pawns are not weak at the moment, but their isolation gives basis for the white pieces on the A and C file, and the pressure on the E5 pawn limits the freedom of the white pieces. So here it says that these two are isolated, and so for that reason they are weak compared to one that are contiguous. But the white pieces are kind of all stuck here trying to protect this pawn, and so they don't have the time or energy to attack the black pawns, right? So that's the reason. So white does not have much to do, but he can hope to maintain a solid position. So what would you play in this position? And here there are various possibilities, right? But there is one thing that is called minority attack. It generally happens. For example, in the Scandinavian, I have two pawns, here there are three, and you try to make them weak. So this is a possibility that you can play here, and in that case a5 would be the move. But let's see what the author says. He analyzes three different possibilities, A, B and C, E says bishop takes f3. Would be worth considering, right? Okay, so he said this move seems good if white was obliged to play this, but if you play this, probably is not so good. And you say, why? Why is not so good? Let's see why. He says, after this, knight takes e5, you don't go immediately to take. Why? Because this is not protected. So you play queen g3. And he cannot move it, right? Because you're going to take the queen. So he has to defend, no? With f6. But also that is not finished, right? So there will be still this bishop c3, bishop d6 to defend there. You take back, and after this there is rook a d1, no? And now white is better. Why? Because as you can see, he gained the d file, and honestly it doesn't have any weakness, right? While black has this that is a kind of a backwood, so for the moment is weak, and these two that are still weak, so you didn't solve the real problem. So bishop takes f3, not a good idea. Let's return back to the position. So now let's see another possible plan by black. He says, what if you play knight b6 with the idea to exchange the knight and damage the pawn structure, right? Unfortunately, that idea doesn't work. Why? Bishop f5. No? And now it's a problem. Because if you play this, and as you can see, once more, the problem is that yes, black has a solid position, but for example now this bishop is kind of bad, right? Because it's blocked by his own pawn. And what is black going to do? White has a good position. Well, this doesn't seem really good, probably for black, right? So again, what are we going to do? Here it says another possibility is f6, okay? Because after e takes f6, bishop takes f6 activates the black pieces, but the pawn structure is further weakened, no? So that's not really good. And then it shows us the move played in the game, that in fact it was a5. Wow, a minority attack. Very good, I would say. Yeah. a4, trying to fix a5 because so you can attack it even more. In fact, he says that, yeah, fixing the black pawn on a5 where it is exposed. But the same goes for the b3 pawn. Now also this is kind of blocked, right? Because you control the square. Okay. And what shall we do now? Well, black needs to do something about a5 here. So this is not a joke. He needs to solve that problem right away because he's kind of weak. Yeah. And knight b8 is the move. This is a move that is not easy to find because you don't want to go back, but the maneuver is clear, right? He wants to go to defend this, so yeah, very good. So he plays rook fd1, knight c6. And so he says, black has carried out his plan, the knight defends the a5 pawn, attacks the e5 pawn, and can go to b4 or d4, depending on the circumstances. So, immediately white plays bishop c3 because that thing of d4 obviously wasn't letting him go. But black continue to attack at this point on b3. He starts the attack on b3. Yeah. Rook a b1. So now you know why he played rook f d1, because he had the idea to protect that pawn. Rook f d8, queen e1, and knight b4. So in this position, white made a tactical error. What is this tactical error? He played queen e3. Instead, the right move was knight f d2, because provides support for the b3 pawn. Okay. Okay, so we saw that white played queen e3. That is an error. Why is it an error? Try to find next black move, because that would help you, obviously. It's bishop takes c4. And now you need to understand why rook takes d8 is not good, because it gives black a decisive advantage. For the moment, let's see the continuation played by white. That was b takes c4. Rook takes d1. Rook takes d1. And queen c6. White cannot defend the pawn on a4 because of what? What happens if he plays rook a1? There is knight c2 forking them, okay? So that's the reason why he cannot do that. The game continued with h4, h6. As you can see, once you know that a weakness is fixed, is not going anywhere, you just improve your position elsewhere. You don't let the opponent do something that you don't like, okay? King h2, rook a8, bishop takes b4, a takes b4, so now black has a pass pawn which is also protected. Knight d2, queen takes a4, knight b3, queen c6, because obviously you need to protect this, h5, rook a2, rook d2, rook takes, knight takes, queen a4, knight b3, queen a2, and of course at a certain point you kind of go in zugzwang. If you take here, this will go down. It seems that white tried to defend that, but he lost that. So after this move, white resigned. I thank you very much for watching. I hope that you found useful the strategic chess exercises. Again, guys, it's important to do the tactics, no doubt, because you need to do them to learn the patterns. It's very important to do the checkmate patterns, because I see that online I get really grace by Kaisa a lot of times, because my opponent could finish me and they don't see the checkmate, and I see it, and once they waste a tempo or two, I can avoid to be checkmated. But if they would have done more checkmate exercises, that wouldn't happen. So checkmate exercises are important. But at the same time, like Silman wrote in his book, it doesn't matter if you are 1200, 1400, you will find yourself with the problem of saying, okay, I'm in a position that there are no tactics, nothing extraordinary. What do I do? For that you need a plan, and so you need a book like this, and you need a book like the one written by Silman that help you to understand what to do next. So thank you very much for watching. I will try to do more positions from this great book and see if it will teach you something. Okay? Thank you very much.